Picture an atherosclerotic artery as a crime scene. Cholesterol piles up on the walls, thick deposits blocking what should be a free-flowing highway of blood. For decades, cholesterol was blamed as the culprit. But here's the twist. Cholesterol is just the passenger. The real suspects are the lipoproteins, the vehicles smuggling cholesterol into places it doesn't belong. Every atherosclerotic plaque begins with one of these lipoprotein particles breaking in, unloading its cargo, and disappearing, leaving cholesterol behind at the scene. So today, we are stepping into the role of a detective. We'll assemble a lipoprotein from scratch, meet the different lipoproteins, and follow their pathways through the body. And if you're tempted to tune out because this sounds too basic, stick with me. Mastery of these foundations is what lets you apply the right medication to the right patient. Welcome to LipidCurious, the podcast dedicated to demystifying lipids for medical boards and real-world clinical practice. I'm your host, Dr. Vishnupriya Pulipati, a board-certified endocrinologist and lipidologist. This is Season 1, Episode 5, Lipoproteins. Here's what we'll cover together. 1. Structure and types of lipoproteins. 2. Exogenous and endogenous pathways of lipid metabolism. 3. How cholesterol-lowering medications leverage lipid biology. This episode comes with a bonus visual handout in the show notes. And if you're the kind of the person who likes everything in one place, head to www.lipidcurious.com. You'll find the complete set of visuals from Season 1, plus a free starter kit packed with practical clinical guides, cheat sheets, and quick references you can actually use in your clinical practice. And as always, a reminder, this podcast is for education only, not medical advice. All right, let's get into it. Let's start by assembling a lipoprotein. I think of lipoproteins as floating shuttles engineered to carry the lipid cargo safely through the watery bloodstream. Lipoproteins can take on different shapes. For simplicity, let's picture them as spherical, tennis ball-like structures floating in the bloodstream. Step 1. The shell. This is a single layer of phospholipids and free cholesterol. This forms a nice waterproof lining around the cargo. Step 2. The cargo. Inside, we pack the VIPs, the triglyceride and the cholesterol esters. Step 3. Apolipoproteins. These are like barcodes and ID tags. They tell each lipoprotein particle where to go. Deliver here, pick up there. Example, ApoB. It is a big molecule which wraps around the lipoprotein like a belt. This carries the barcode which the liver recognizes and pulls the low-density lipoproteins into the liver. We'll dive more into it in the future episode. So a lipoprotein isn't just a blob of fat. It's a sophisticated shuttle system. Lipoproteins can be divided into 7 classes based on size, cargo they carry, and their associated apolipoproteins. 1. Chylomicrons. These are large triglyceride-rich particles made by the intestine. They transport dietary lipids to peripheral tissues and liver. Because of their large size, they usually don't enter the arterial wall to cause atherosclerosis. But in excess, they can clog the pancreatic arteries and trigger pancreatitis. 2. Chylomicron remnants. These are smaller cholesterol-rich particles left after the chylomicrons deliver their triglycerides. These are proatherogenic. 3. Very low-density lipoprotein. This is a triglyceride-rich particle made by the liver. 4. Intermediate density lipoprotein. 5. Low density lipoprotein. VLDL, IDL, LDL are all related to each other. So the VLDL, once it comes out of the liver, gives away its triglycerides to the peripheral tissue and progressively shrinks and becomes more and more cholesterol dense. The particle the VLDL becomes to first is called ideal. Then it loses much more of its triglycerides and ultimately becomes a pure cholesterol-rich particle, which is LDL. All of them are atherogenic, but LDL is the most atherogenic in excess. 6. High-density lipoprotein or HDL. This is like the garbage truck. It collects the cholesterol from the peripheral tissue and brings it back to the liver. 7. Lipoprotein a. This is a special low-density lipoprotein-like particle. It has an extra protein called apolipoprotein a. This particular addition makes it both atherogenic as well as thrombogenic. We'll highlight this more in its own episode in the future. The journey of the lipoproteins is like a beautifully choreographed dance. I'll walk you through the main moves here, but the detailed enzymes and transporters are in the visual guide at www.lipidcurious.com. First up, exogenous pathway. After a fatty meal, the digestion begins right in the stomach, with the lingual and the gastric lipases starting to break down triglycerides. In the duodenum, gallbladder squeezes out the bile salts, which emulsifies big fat globules into tiny fat droplets, increasing the surface area for the digestion. Next, in the jejunum, pancreatic lipase is released and it chops up triglycerides into fatty acids and glycerol. Cholesterol, on the other hand, while partially is present in the food, most of the cholesterol in the gut is recycled bile. These digested lipid products are surrounded by bile salts to form micelles. Micelles are tiny spherical particles that carry these digested fatty acids, cholesterol, fat-soluble vitamins to the intestinal lining and delivers it there. Once inside the intestinal cell, the fatty acids and glycerol reassemble to become triglycerides. The lonely cholesterol is esterified with a fatty acid to form cholesterol ester. The triglyceride cholesterol ester is packaged into a lipoprotein, and the intestine is very proud of its work, so it puts a tag of apolipoprotein B48, and this particle is called a chylomicron. Chylomicrons are then dropped off into the lymphatic system, which enters the bloodstream. In the bloodstream, chylomicron borrows ApoC and ApoE from the nice HDL molecule. These apolipoproteins are important to interact with the lipoprotein lipase enzyme, which is present in the peripheral tissue. Whenever the chylomicron meets the lipoprotein lipase in the peripheral tissue, it takes away a little bit of the triglyceride into the muscles and fat to use or store. As the triglycerides are stripped away, chylomicrons shrink into chylomicron remnants, which are richer in cholesterol because the triglyceride was given away to the peripheral tissue. The chylomicron remnants don't have much triglyceride to give anymore, so the ApoE on its surface guides these remnants back to the liver for clearance. So in short, in the exogenous pathway, food, emulsification, pancreatic lipase digestion, intestinal absorption, chylomicron formation, lipoprotein lipase takes away the triglyceride, and this becomes chylomicron remnant, which is cleared by the liver. Now let's talk about the endogenous pathway. This is the liver's way of packaging and shipping fats. Inside the liver, triglycerides and cholesterol esters are put together into a molecule, and the liver, which is very proud of its job, puts a tag of ApoB100, and this molecule is called VLDL. More triglyceride in the liver, it can create more VLDL. In conditions like diabetes mellitus, obesity, and metabolic syndrome, VLDL production can be really turned up because of this. VLDL is released into the bloodstream, where lipoprotein lipase, which is waiting in the peripheral tissue, takes away a little bit of the triglycerides into the muscle and the fat, and this VLDL shrinks into IDL, which is richer in cholesterol. Some IDL particles head back into the liver, while the others are further digested by hepatic lipase and they become pure cholesterol-rich LDL particles. LDL is the most cholesterol-rich particle wrapped in ApoB100. Most LDL is cleared by LDL receptors on the liver, with the rest taken up by peripheral tissues. How much LDL you see in the blood depends on two main things: how much is made and how efficiently it's been cleared, both tightly linked to the number of LDL receptors available. Here's the key clinical point. When the liver's cholesterol runs low, it makes more LDL receptors because it's hungry for more cholesterol, so it absorbs it from the circulation. Another key player in this whole equation is PCSK9 protein. This protein kills LDL receptors. LDL receptors at baseline are recycled by the liver because our body tries to find efficient ways to make less work for itself. But the PCSK9 proteins produced by the liver kills these LDL receptors on the surface of the liver. More active PCSK9 protein, you will have fewer LDL receptors surviving it. So what happens? The LDL gets clogged up because it's not getting cleared. Next, how cholesterol-lowering medications leverage this lipid biology understanding. Most of our current cholesterol-lowering therapies capitalize the knowledge of lipid biology and work by either lowering the liver's cholesterol supply or preserving the LDL receptors so more LDL can be cleared. Bile acid sequestrants. These bind bile acids in the gut, stop them from being reabsorbed. So the liver has to create more bile acids using up its cholesterol, forcing it to increase the LDL receptors to get the cholesterol. Ezetimibe. This blocks the NPC1L1 transporter in the intestine, which is the transporter which helps us absorb the cholesterol into the body. So the ezetimibe blocks this transporter, so less cholesterol is absorbed from diet and bile. Statins block HMG-CoA reductase enzyme, and bempedoic acid works a step earlier at ATP citrate lyase. Both reduce the liver's cholesterol pool, which drives up the LDL receptor number so it can accept more LDL into the liver. PCSK9 inhibitors prevent PCSK9 from destroying the LDL receptors, so more receptors survive on the liver and more LDL can be cleared from the circulation. Fibrates and omega-3 fatty acids mainly target the VLDL, reducing triglyceride-rich precursors of LDL. So here's the takeaway of this episode. 1. Retention of excess lipoproteins within the arterial walls are the real culprits driving atherosclerosis. 2. Lipoproteins are like shuttles. Their structure, cargo, and apolipoproteins determine where the cholesterol ends up. 3. Targeting lipoprotein pathways helps turn complex biology into effective therapies for dyslipidemia. All right, folks, join me in 2 weeks for our next episode. We'll unpack high-density lipoprotein HDL and explore how reverse cholesterol transport helps clear cholesterol from the body. Thanks for tuning into LipidCurious. If today's episode was helpful, share it with a colleague. Let's grow this community of LipidCurious clinicians. I'd love to hear your suggestions, feedback, or you just want to say hi to me. You can always reach out to me at hello@lipidcurious.com. Be sure to subscribe or follow so you don't miss what's next. And don't forget, you can download the free starter kit and season 1 visual guide at www.lipidcurious.com. Until next time, stay curious and stay confident. Signing off, Dr. Pulipati.